Are the Rams and McSnead getting a little too cute? Our thoughts about the drafts and the Cardinals and the 49ers and players to consider at number 104 for the Rams. And one of the things they might want to do is call up Georgia and see if the University of Georgia has anybody left. And on this day, April 29th, 2022, we're remembering a great Ram named Charlie Cowan. I'm Joe Torosian, and this is RamView, the Friday edition. And we want to thank you for clicking on, and those that have clicked on this week, engaged in conference calls and different things, sent me notes. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough just to get you excited and happy that it's somewhat what you're doing is being received. So thank you so much for that. Hey, if you were watching the draft last night, you saw the draft take place and you saw the teams. Hold on. It's my phone. Sorry about that. Hold on. It's Stan. Kronk, what's up? Dude. Yeah. I saw the video. I saw it was great. Yeah. No, I know they told you it was Randy Quaid, but no, it was going to be Dennis Quaid that played you. Yeah, he's better looking, so you should feel good about that. Yeah. And don't be upset. But hey, if you've got a moment, do you think you can maybe give Les and Sean some notes? One, look for somebody from Georgia. I think that part would be pretty good. And the other part is maybe they want to tone it down a little bit. I know it's all part of the shtick, but I think that they had a few suds in them last night, and they were having a good time, and we're all for everyone having a good time. But so after a while, it looks kind of bad on the organization. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Stan, you caught me. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, I'll call you when I can. I gotta go, Stan. Okay, take care. Bye. All right. Cronky, man. That guy always calls me, wants to know. He's upset because he felt like he didn't come off looking good. But I said, Dennis Quaid was a lot better looking than Randy Quaid. And so that's what's going on with Stan. But I did mean what I told him in regards to the Rams are starting to look like the new evil empire or building into that. Okay, first they play in LA. They're flashy. They just won a Super Bowl. They don't look like they're on any short porch here, that it's a long veranda, and it looks like the Rams are going to be around for a while. That's another thing to consider. They play in the best stadium. They got the best uniforms, I think, and they got a young coach and a good-looking GM. I mean, so you got Josh Holloway playing you in a video there, and you're looking pretty good. So the Rams are looking good, and I'm just getting the feeling that after watching the couple of press conferences and that Cole Strange thing last night, do you think, and I'm not saying I have a problem with it, but do you think the Rams are in any way kind of building themselves into a spot where they're going to become the most hated team in the NFL? It was the Patriots, right? People say evil empire. You talk about Patriots and this latest generation, people, you mentioned the Patriots, and they either love Tom Brady or they hate him, right? It's kind of like the Cowboys. They might not have been considered the evil empire, but you love them or you hate them. No matter what the Cowboys did, I hated them, right? And then, of course, the original evil empire was the Al Davis Raiders through the late 60s and 70s. And while I wasn't a huge fan, you loved that whole mystique and that dun 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 dun, right? You loved all that. And you had Facenda's voice and Marcus Allen running with the night, Ted Hendricks. You love that evil empire. And anytime they beat somebody that you didn't like, you love them. But when you're talking about the Rams now, I don't know. Could they be accused of being a little too cocky? They were pretty flippant in some of their press conferences. I think they're just having fun. Yeah, maybe there were a few suds they had sucked back. But the Cole Strange thing was interesting. It was kind of strange. The Patriots, to every board that I saw, reached and drafted Cole Strange. Cole Strange was the one player on the Rams board, as we were looking at all the mock drafts and all the projections, that he was in that range initially that someone the Rams would be looking at. But as all the mock drafts 2.0 and 4.0 all started coming out, we saw Strange dropping into the third round, early in the third round, and then late in the second. And so when the Patriots drafted him at 29, it was a surprise. And you watch the reaction, and I guess it could be interpreted both ways. That one, they were stunned that they were scouting Cole Strange at 104, thinking he might be around, and then the Patriots saw him at 29. And so there was that reaction that you could take from that. Or you could take the reaction that, geez, Cole Strange at 29, it's like, maybe you could have gotten Cole Strange, you know, 20 picks later, or 25 picks later, and said they grabbed him in the first round, and just their reactions. Good looking dudes, on the West Coast. They got all that California vibe. And I just wonder if the Rams, if they are to go on another run this year, if they were, do they become the new evil empire that teams just hate, and that the fans just hate because outside of Rams fans, right? But everyone else just hate. They're the team that everyone has to crush. And do they become the team the NFL goes after? As long as Kroenke's politics are okay, I'm sure it'll be all right, because they always look like they were looking for something with Belichick and Kraft, and you don't hear much about the other owners who are just, there are other owners too. But it'll be interesting to see when you watch that with the Rams about being an evil empire, because, I think it's funny. I like them hating my team. That means my team's doing something right. I'm good with it. But, you got the video, the high production video. You got the place they're at. They're on top of the world. And I don't know. I get the impression that the Rams are going to take on that new mantle of evil empire, and that's okay. But curious to see what you think about that. So we watched the draft last night. 5 Georgia players taken in the first round, and Nakobe Dean wasn't one of them, so he'll go early today. I saw a projection of him going to Tampa Bay at 33. That's good for Tampa, right? We did say Trayvon Walker would be number 1, and he was number 1 to Jacksonville. I feel pretty good about that. Watching Kayvon Thibodeau come across the stage and all that, and I'm happy for the kid, but I just wouldn't have drafted him at number 5. I just don't. He's just not available. He's not out there enough, and I think as the word is around him, he's into his brand more than he is into the game, and so I'm not real big on Kayvon Thibodeau. I was surprised that number 8, Drake London from USC, was the first receiver taken. That part blew me away. Oh, also the first 5 picks, as we mentioned in a couple of mock drafts, not ours, but other mock drafts, had 5 defensive players going, and sure enough, it did. But Drake London was taken number 8 as a receiver by Atlanta, and that stunned me that he went so high. It stunned a lot of people he went so high, because Atlanta has so many needs. But I guess they're between Kyle Pitts and Drake London, they're giving Marcus Mariota another shot in the NFL and giving him some talent to work with. The one thing I noticed about Drake London and a couple other players, Kyle Hamilton and Zion Johnson. And again, you're young, you're happy, you're excited. But when you saw Drake London come across the stage at number 8, Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame being picked 14 by Baltimore, the way he came across. And then Zion Johnson, the Chargers pick at number 17 out of Boston College, the way he came across this. You looked like you were looking at young men who were adults. They weren't about the swag. They weren't about the dance. They weren't about the adulation. They looked like they were guys looking like, hey, we just got hired and we're going to go work in a new city and we're ready to do business. And that's how the Drake London, Kyle Hamilton, and Zion Johnson came across to me. And they're guys that make you want to invest in them, right? If you've been out here watching USC, Drake London's been the only thing good about USC the last few years, and so you believe in him. Kyle Hamilton, I think if we were in another age, would have been drafted higher, but safety is somewhat devalued right now because it's all about corners, edges, tackles, and obviously receivers and quarterbacks. But I love Kyle Hamilton. I think I hit hashtag next Ed Reed. Ed Reed's one of my favorite football players of all time. And if he can give Baltimore something that Ed Reed gave him, I think he's got the framework and the mental makeup to do that. It's just a question of whether or not, he stays healthy and he progresses. Kenny Pickett going at 20 to Pittsburgh really surprised me. I thought if any quarterback would go first round, it would be Malik Willis. And I make jokes about Kenny Pickett, and I posted the meme, "No one, not even the rain, has such small hands." That's not abstract, folks. That's E.E. Cummings. It's from a poem. And I don't really have a problem with Pickett's hands. I just didn't see him as a first round guy. I thought it was a bit of a reach. And I kind of posted that meme because I have a loyal RamView follower who is a Steeler fan named Rob Sorge, who lives in Missouri. Loyal RamView follower who lives in Missouri, who is a Steeler fan. Okay, his name's Rob Sorge, and he he didn't want Kenny Pickett, and so I just wanted to give him a hard time. I liked the Baltimore Ravens picks of Kyle Hamilton and center Tyler Linderbaum, and I think Lamar Jackson should like it as well, in spite of whatever that tweet meant. Number 26, Jermaine Johnson, who was a top 10 talent. I still don't know about Jermaine Johnson. We don't know if Jermaine Johnson III is going to be great, but Jermaine Johnson went at number 26 to the Jets, which was a great pick because they're not going to pay him top 5, top 10 money. They're going to pay him 26th overall money. And you know, I think my friend Aram Talesian posted it on Twitter. You're not going to tell me, and he's right, that Jermaine Johnson is 21 picks less than Kayvon Thibodeau. And I think Johnson could have the better career. When Devin Lloyd went at 27 to, where did he go? I'm sorry, he was picked number 27 and out of Utah. And they talked about his teammates that were shot. And, you know, it's like, what was Melissa Stark thinking? I mean, this is just the brain dead of the NFL draft. The NFL draft is a joke on opening night. I don't care. I think you really got to take the time out to bring Tony Gonzalez, Austin Eckler, and all those guys out there to talk about Amazon. I mean, everyone knows this, and you got to ramp it up. Oh, it's going to be lit. It's going to be this. I'm so sick of new people walking out there and say, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? You know, the draft is a red carpet joke on the opening night. And Melissa Stark kind of capped it. A few years ago, she was asking people on the red carpet, you know, peanut butter or jelly. You know, it's like asking, are you Elvis or Beatles, right? And I think during the course of the year, Melissa Stark is fine. But she goes and brings it up. Devin Lloyd's drafted number 27 overall. And it's his night. And he comes off the side. And the first thing I know, you had teammates who died of gun violence, and everyone knows he brought the team together, but why do you need to bring it up in that moment? I just thought it was the epitome of a disaster and a joke by the NFL, and they should be embarrassed. It's really a shame. Football's such a great sport, and they got such a great product. It really should be put in the hands of somebody else to run it, because I think it's insulting to people. I think they're so big, they insult people. And that was a terrible thing to do, Devin Lloyd, I thought. Maybe he didn't care, but just perception-wise, this is not a question you ask. You know, talk about the achievement of the moment. Hey, there was a lot of struggle to get to this point, and then let him share what he wanted to share. I just thought it was weak. And then, of course, Cole Strange going at 29. I don't know why they drafted him at 29. I think they could have had him later, the Patriots, but they did, and he's not going to catch a pass for Mac Jones, right? He's not going to block. Well, he could block for Mac Jones, but he's not going to run the ball for Mac Jones. And I don't know. I guess it's a good move. We'll see. I just didn't see him at 29. And then, of course, there was the Rams reaction. And then talking about the trades as we hit the 13-minute mark, A.J. Brown being dealt to Philly, got 4 years, 100 rocks, 57 of them guaranteed. They immediately did that. I think it was a good move by the Titans. I really do, because I'm not going to give him that money when I can draft another receiver. And sure enough, they did. They drafted Treylon Burks. And so yeah, I think what we're seeing here is what's happening is that market that we talked about the last few weeks. We talked about the glut of receivers coming into the NFL, something like 10 to 12 in each of the last 4 or 5 seasons. The first 65 picks, there's been 10 to 12 receivers taken. And there's a glut of receivers. And so no one is going to go Tyreek too much right now. You're going to have to prove it before you go Tyreek. You're not just going to automatically get it with a second contract. And A.J. Brown's not worth 57 guaranteed rocks. He's just not. And so he gets dealt. They draft Treylon Burks. Brown goes to Philly. It's a good move for Philly. I just don't want to pay the money, because I can get somebody cheaper. Hollywood Brown goes from the Ravens, which he really didn't want to be there, and he was a bust. I mean, he was okay. He's an average receiver, and I think it's great. And they already picked up his 5th-year option, so he's going to cost them 2 rocks this year in his 4th year, and then next year he's going to cost them 13 rocks. They've already picked up Kyler Murray's contract, and then they're going to end up giving him more. And what did they do? They gave Kyler Murray his college teammate, because they're friends. Haven't we seen a lot lately, quite a bit lately in the NBA and other places, that, yeah, I'm going to bring my boy in, I'm going to bring my friend in, I'm going to bring my brother in. And then you find out that you're not compatible on the field. And yeah, Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown in Oklahoma made some noise, but they're both sub 5'10", right? And which means they're probably closer to 5'8" than to 5'10". And so on top of that, Hollywood Brown hasn't had really great production. So he's a sub 5'10" receiver who Stephen Smith Jr. last night was saying can't get off the line. He's good in gimmicky type things. He can't get off the line. And you got a quarterback who's sub 5'10", who's going to try to get him the ball. I think it's great. And I think the contracts that they're going to commit to really keeps them tied up big time. I was looking at Brown's PFF ranking, 58 out of 115 receivers last year, meaning he is almost exactly average or just a little above average. There's very little special in Hollywood Brown. The Titans drafted Burks from Arkansas, and so we saw that they traded AJ Brown, and so those things took place. Yeah, big day for the Browns, right? I thought the Jets not trading for Deebo Samuel was really smart. And they got Garrett Wilson, who I thought would have been the first pick in the draft out of Ohio State. And they got Garrett Wilson at, I think, number 10. And that was a great move for the Jets because, honestly, I don't think you need Deebo Samuel because Samuel right now wants more money, but he doesn't want to do the stuff that put him in a position to make that more money because he is not – I just don't think he's an elite receiver in terms of catching the ball. But in terms of catching and running the ball, he's enormously special. Would I have loved to have seen him traded out of the division as a Rams fan? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, trade him. Get him out of here. Do I love the idea of the 49ers keeping him, eventually signing him, and then still having him really not wanting to do what he wants to do? Can you imagine them giving him any length of time, still playing him the way they're playing? Because he gets a lot of touches and he takes a lot of hits. Thank you, Nick Scott, right? He takes a lot of hits. And so you're not going to give him Tyreek Hill money. And the 49ers have other issues because they still got Jimmy G. They haven't been able to move that thing. And then they're going to give Doe to Deebo Samuel before they have to. I think there's a real problem there, and I'm thrilled as a Rams fan. Thrilled. There was the text that came out lastly here on from Lamar Jackson, wanting to know what they did by dealing Hollywood Brown and then not drafting a receiver in the first round. But, by the time Kyle Hamilton was drafted at spot 14, there was Jahan Dotson out of Penn State was left. He's a little small and he's a little light. And then there was Burks. And Burks is already listed at 6'3", 225. He's a beast. But there were questions about his weight when he was a Razorback. And so I don't know if Lamar Jackson realizes it just yet, but I think the Baltimore front office did him a huge favor in terms of long-term relevance for this team. So it might be a little easier. You got a nice big fat center in front of you that's there for 10 years. That makes your life just a little bit easier. So you can get a receiver anywhere these days. Rams watch a little bit as we are at number 104. Players that I brought up running backs yesterday. The biggest reach at running back because no running backs were taken, if you notice in the draft yesterday, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens today. But the one the Rams have interviewed, he's Dalvin Cook's brother, is James Cook. Guess what? He's a Georgia player, right? The Rams have interviewed him. If he falls to 104, I would expect the Rams to take him. I mentioned another Georgia running back, Zamir White. Arizona State, Rashad White, that might be a little bit of a reach. And Pierre Strong Jr. out of South Dakota State is a running back that is projected more fourth round than third round. But again, I think the Rams have a need at running back. The corners that still remain on the board in the Rams draft budget, and when I mean by draft budget, who might be around at 104, Damari Mathis, Pittsburgh, Cordell Flott, LSU, Joshua Williams, Fayetteville State. Now, he is really a low-level corner, but with enormous talent as far as small school. But the Rams have done that kind of move before. I just don't see that much of a reach for him at 104. Zion McCollum, he's holding steady, dropping a little bit. Would he be around in the fourth round at 142? I don't know. I think Damari Mathis and Cordell Flott will be around at 104, and there's there is a possibility there. Inside interior offensive linemen, centers and guards, the names that, as I was looking today, because as the mock drafts have been updated, the names that were appearing today, Donovan West, center, Arizona State. He has guard and center capability. A lot of people like him. He's projected third round. Marquise Hayes, guard, Oklahoma. He's running about 6'5", 315. Guard, Oklahoma. He's projected third round by the experts. Right now, they look like they could be there for the Rams. Then, of course, there's a popular guy, Luke Fortner, who is projected, again, high in the third round. I've seen him projected center, who could play also guard out of Kentucky, Liam Cohen. And then Joshua Izadu from North Carolina. I think he's more of a fourth-round guy. I'll post these names later on today. I think these guys are Izadu from North Carolina is more fourth round. And then people that are in the top 100 at edge that if the Rams decided to go there. See, I think the Rams are okay at edge, despite what most people think. They like Chris Garrett. He was kind of a Nelson Spruce guy last preseason. Terrell Lewis, they invested in, made him a third round pick a few years ago. And Justin Hollins was coming into his own and was playing before getting injured. And then, of course, Von Miller came in. The Rams got some depth at the edge, but who'd be available at 104? Latest spacing that I'm seeing is Dominic Robinson, Miami, Ohio. And, of course, the real hot one that a lot of people are talking about, D'Angelo Malone out of Western Kentucky. So I want to get through this as we come up to the 22-minute mark. On this date in 1998, former Ram left tackle Charlie Cowan, he was a 15-year starter, 1961 through 1975. He died at the age of 59. Died really young when you think about it. He had kidney failure, but he was a lockdown for the Rams. He started off as a right guard, played some right tackle, and then I think roughly his last 7-8 years of the team, he was a left tackle. He made Pro Bowl, 3 Pro Bowls, and was second-team All-Pro twice. Smaller league then, tougher to get that kind of recognition in those days. But he was a fourth-round pick, I think, out of a New Mexico Highlands in 61. And you think about, again, he was part of that Rams crew that for a decade, they ran Charlie Cowan, Tom Mack at left guard, Ken Iman at center, and Joe Schiavelli at right guard for 10 years. Those guys all played together. This is why the Rams offensive line was so great. And they brought in different people to play right tackle over those times, and they did good jobs. But he was a cornerstone for the Rams, wore number 73. And it's a shame, he passed away, and people forget who Charlie Cowan was, and we really should remember Charlie Cowan. And how blessed were the Rams that after having 10 years of, more than 10 years with Schiavelli, Cowan, Mack was 13 years. He retired in 78, after 78. And then you also have Ken Iman there for 10 years. The Rams literally went from Charlie Cowan at left tackle all the way through the 75 season to Doug France, who was the starter 76 through 81 in France, multiple Pro Bowls and an All-Pro performer as well. So good to remember Charlie Cowan. And lastly, I do want to get out this, as I mentioned on a previous show about a deal the Rams made, is that on this day in 1986, on draft day, the Rams sent the number 6 and number 96 and number 101 overall picks to the San Francisco 49ers to move up to number 71. So the Rams gave the 49ers in their division number 96 and number 101 overall to go to number 71. And with that 71st overall pick in the third round, they drafted quarterback Hugh Millen out of Washington. John Shaw, right? What can you say, right? Hugh Millen. They drafted Hugh Millen. And who did the 49ers draft at 96 and 101? They drafted Charles Haley and Steve Wallace. Wallace was a lockdown left tackle for years for them, and Charles Haley only went on to win 5 Pro Bowls and end up in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying that's who the Rams would have drafted because John Shaw was in charge, but it is kind of interesting that they gave up 96 and 101, and there was talent like Charles Haley and Steve Wallace on the board, and they settled for Hugh Millen. Yeah, you wonder why. things were the way they were. Hey, folks, thank you so much. As we're coming up to 25, I'm Joe Torosian, and thank you for clicking on. And I am a writer. I write sports for my website, joetorosian.com. I was a paid sports writer for years at Mid-Valley Sports and other places. I also write books, and they're available on Amazon. Just type in Joe Torosian. My most popular one is Tangent Dreams, which is a high school football novel. And then my explicitly Christian novel is Sin Virus, which is recently released a few months ago. I am also a pastor, and so that book, Sin Virus, is explicitly Christian. I pastor a small church in Burbank. You can follow me on Twitter at JoeT13B, Instagram JoeT13B, joetorosian.com, and please follow us right now because we've established ourselves on Spotify. I think we're hoping to get on other platforms, turning this into a podcast so it's available audio only when you're driving in your car. And we can use the support. Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much for clicking on. We'll be following the draft today and not going to be coming back till Monday, but it's a lot of fun to talk about the draft. Take care. God bless. And we'll talk to you soon.